Okay. Now let me return to those 3 points that I made at the beginning of this interview. You know, the first one.
Okay.
And let me show you what I mean. How to organize the Materia Medica. I was, talking with people about this, and then I was asked the following question by somebody about this idea. They said, aren't you going to move towards an allopathic viewpoint? Progression of disease, labeling of disease, etc. So here was my answer. As you say, they said prodrome, all these things, that is labeling of disease. But as I said, the prodrome is also a deviation from health and is separated in time from the symptoms that follow. And that's where the timeline and the sequence already begin. Yeah? And where you can determine what case of disease has come before you. So, when the patient comes to us, he comes with an end result, he's sick. And the first question we generally ask is, how did this start? Yeah? So Hahnemann, he says, in every case of disease, the particulars of the exciting cause of an acute disease are of importance. In chronic cases, the most significant points in the history enable the physician to discover the fundamental cause. So Hahnemann, first of all, speaks of cases of disease. And the Materia Medica is full of diseases. Typhoid, scarlet fever, dysentery, dysmenorrhea, and so forth. They're all diseases, which Hahnemann says that we should take note of in their particulars.
Sounds like a dangerous place.
Yeah, and the particulars denote also the timeline and the sequence of development, because he speaks about the history. Yeah? So the significant points in the history involve a sequential development along a timeline. So I don't see at all how suddenly I have become allopathic. Yeah? When I adhere to it in setting up a Materia Medica. Materia Medica should be a reflection of the reality of disease, and not of what we think should be cured in any particular case that comes before us. So we cure cases of diseases and not cases of people.
Yeah. So maybe we should put this into context that what we're talking about here is a different approach to the Materia Medica and homeopathy, and that we're looking at this in a way of the development of disease, applying the Materia Medica into its time development, its chronopathic development. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So we're talking about
Hahnemann also says that unprejudiced observation is directed at all the changes in the health of the mind, the emotions, and the body. And these are clearly visible or revealed by further examination. And the physician only notices the deviation of health, the sensations of the patient and those noticed by the people around him, by his relatives, and the observations of the physician. They are all that needs to be noted. And all these perceptible signs present the disease in its whole extent and form a true picture of the disease. Now, to me, the deviation of health is just as much in the sequence in which the symptoms appear, which are only the deviations from health. They are all the changes, so the timeline and the sequence cannot even be left out, in favor of the Kantian approach, for instance, of treating the person and not his disease. The deviation of health in the provings was also recorded, inclusive of the time at which they occurred. And that alone says that the time is of utmost importance.
Well,
otherwise, Hahnemann would not have included these times in his Materia Medica pura and the chronic diseases.
Let me ask you some questions about this then. So, what is it exactly that you're suggesting that be done here? Are you suggesting that the remedy be administered along a particular timeline,
no,
or that a different remedy?
That we record the remedy not in an alphabetical order and in a head-to-foot schema, but in an order that follows the disease. Yeah? So if, say, for instance, somebody catches a cold and he begins with sneezing, and then he gets a runny nose and watery eyes, and then he gets a sore throat, and afterwards he begins to cough. Now there is a timeline in that, there is a sequence. Yeah? And Materia Medica should be written down. The remedy that has these symptoms should be written down in the same sequence, so that the remedy and disease are perfect mirror images. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, then it requires a Materia Medica that will reflect those things, right?
Yes. And that is, in the modern Materia Medica, it doesn't reflect anything like it, because it is head to foot, and it is in alphabetical order. The remedies that cover the same diseases are not grouped together. You know, we have put everything in alphabetical order, and we've put it head to foot, because, that is how we usually go about. But it's actually completely asymptomatic, and it is completely illogical to take a case like that, you know, beginning with the mind, and then going to the eyes, and then the ears, and then the nose, and then the mouth, and then the throat, and then the stomach, and then the urinary organs, and the digestive system, and then the lungs, and then the extremities, and the sleep, and the fever. It doesn't work like that in the disease. If you get sick in a particular way, and it follows a particular sequence. There is no other way. Diseases don't go from head to foot. Diseases begin somewhere. Like I said, one begins with sneezing, and then he gets a runny eye, and then from the runny eyes he gets a sore throat, and then he begins to cough,
I'm laughing because I just...
And he may also get diarrhea.
I said rubbing my eyes, just as you said, it starts with sneezing, and then you rub your eyes. Just as I was doing that. Well, there seems to be some confusion here in my mind about this. Now you say that there is that this has been listed in two. That Hahnemann did this.
The chronic diseases in the Materia Medica Pura, and in T.F. Allen's Materia Medica.
T.F. Allen.
Because there in the head-to-foot schema, they write down all these symptoms, and then, here is a symptom, and they write behind it the time, so many hours after the proving started.
Well, but what happens if you have a...
So the headache may have started 10 hours after, and then they come to the throat, and that was maybe 20 minutes after.
Well,
the timeline is completely lost in that, because they go from head to foot.
Yes, but here's the problem.
Follow the timeline.
Yeah, but the Materia Medica also in its alphabetical listing, as you've described, it also reflects the way that we notice these things. Most people don't start noticing necessarily. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't start noticing what the chronic or the chronological development of their disease is. And what is the practitioner supposed to do? What is the practitioner supposed to? Let me ask a question. What is the practitioner supposed to do when a patient comes to him, and there he is, and the patient doesn't know doesn't remember what the development of his...
Of course he remembers, and that is what I always say to the patient. Of course you remember. Go back in time, think, what happened first when the disease started? And then they go, I got a sore throat. Oh, on what side? Oh, it was on the left side. Okay. Now, when was this? When you woke up? Was it in the afternoon? Was it at noontime? Was it in the evening? Or did you wake up in the middle of the night with it? And then they tell you, because they do remember.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, people are lazy and they don't want to remember, because they're feeling sick, and, they don't want to go through the effort.
Yes.
But, if you want to have a realistic picture of the disease, the patient is always the expert on his own suffering. He knows exactly how things have happened.
All right, so
you only have to remind him.
All right, so now, in lieu of the Kaviraj Materia Medica, which I presume you're working on, this is something you wish you have yet to develop this. That the only places that we can get this is from Hahnemann and T.F. Allen. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can get it nowadays. We can get it also from Jeremy Scher, because Jeremy Scher does provings, and he writes down also the time.
Okay.
But then he presents it like the regular Materia Medica is presented, and I don't understand why they do this.
All right. We have 10 seconds. All right. So we have 10 seconds on this segment. This has been Kaviraj, Vaikunthanath das Kaviraj, the master practitioner of homeopathy, and I'm John Bennett. Thanks for tuning in.